Welcome to Collector's Corner, the premier NFT art podcast.
We help collectors gain and maintain their edge, all while appreciating amazing art.
We're excited to help you in your collecting journey. Let's dive in.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Cornering the Market. Today is Thursday, October 27th. We will ambitiously attempt to cover everything relevant and interesting in the gen art world, as well as highlight collections that we think could be good entry prices and also could be good just for you to know about. My name is P. I go by AstonCloud online. I'm joined by my great friend Jared, who you may know as Jared_Pause online. Jared, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing super well. Just ready for the weekend. It's my second son's birthday, so ready and preparing for that.
Excellent. Good to have family time. Jared is a family man, and on top of that, he is about to launch his fund. Can we give a second, Jared? You want to give some details? Fund launching. We've been talking about it for a while. The day is coming.
Yes, super excited. Or November 1st, get to launch and accepting deposits now, and then quarterly onboarding. So if for whatever reason you're starting to feel FOMO and want to jump in at a later date, there's always new entry points, but it's getting super excited, man. We did a Twitter Spaces yesterday and kind of threw out a general 100 ETH challenge to all the listenership, and it was fun just to hear everybody's input and get some feedback that way. So I'm getting excited. Already got the strategies and some stuff lined up. So being able to start to take action on it feels very, very exciting. Honestly, I'm more stoked now than ever.
Good, as you should be. And that 100 ETH challenge, for folks who may not know, is we do a hypothetical. If you had 100 Ether, what would you buy? Jared did this on the Twitter Spaces because it's not going to be hypothetical for very long for him. So people will be watching those wallets and seeing what you're going after. It'll be exciting to see. So congrats on that. Couple house cleaning things. As always, these episodes are audio only. It will be up on YouTube. Please subscribe, comment, like. We love hearing from you. Appreciate your help. And as you've probably seen the past couple weeks, there'll be a Twitter thread summarizing this. And we will also highlight any disclaimers we have when we own things that we are talking about. So let's jump on in. We're going to start really quickly with the macro. Some interesting stuff going on. Ethereum has rallied up to like 1,500 or so, more than 1,500. Bitcoin rallied as well, up to 20,000. People think that things were just oversold. This is another bear market rally. We'll find out. A lot of catalysts coming up in the world as the macroeconomy has not significantly changed. But in the week, Ethereum is up 18.3%, which is a lot. Bitcoin up 6.4%. A lot of this rally has been in Ether. Solana only up 6.6%. What do you make of this, Jared? Anything worth highlighting?
Just something I'm watching. I've shared with you. I'm looking to see if it follows Wyckoff accumulation. But other than that, I think it's just a data point. It's a exciting blip on the current radar. But I'm also not holding my breath at this point quite yet.
Yep, agreed. So people are cautiously optimistic, although we have seen some more volume in the NFT world. So let's head over to nftpricefloor.com. We'll take a look at our blue chip collections, 7 days. I like to start with where we're seeing volume. Top three in volume in the last 7 days. 32 sales for Chromie Squiggles. No surprise, it's pretty much always number one. Pigments is coming in with second place with 12 sales in the past 7 days. And I actually looked at this yesterday. I think those are probably more recent, 4 in the last 24 hours. So Pigments, another art blocks curated, making moves. Edifice, another art blocks curated, 10 sales, 9 sales in Gazers, and Anticyclones at 9, rounding out the top 5. So certainly volume rotating to different art blocks projects. We'll talk about that in our general news section because there does seem to be something going on there that we'll discuss. But more volume this week compared to last week for sure. And then when we look at floor price changes in the past 7 days, number one is elevated deconstructions, which is a whopping 221% floor increase. So that's more than 2x, friends. 96 Ether floor now. Again, we'll talk about that. There's a reason for this. Second place is Pigments, up 55% to 2.49 ether floor, and Singularity up to 6.5 ether floor, 38% up. Gazer's up to 18, 33% rise. So definitely some solid movement here. Art Block's Curated season is certainly in, and we'll talk about that. There's some whales making moves, and that could be due to the timing with the Ethereum market, perhaps showing signs of bottoming. Unclear, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Before we do that, let's head over to FX Hash. Let's do the Squiggle update. Jared, any Squiggle news?
I keep getting contacted for people to look for stuff, and what's really intriguing is a lot looking for everything from floor to very prominent pieces. Most notably, I talked about the fund that bought the Daisy Row pipe, and we had a short conversation about how the pipe floor is incredibly thin. Obviously, a rarer piece within Squiggles, but to see that there is amazing volume in the Squiggles, and that the floor just keeps creeping up. I think that between 13 to 15 ETH, it's a super thin floor, but very promising with 450 ETH in weekly volume and 32 sales. So the ownership percentage keeps increasing, and overall, not to sound like an absolute maxi here, but the sales are ranging from absolutely amazing and higher end pieces to floor. So I think there's a good diversity amongst the sales, and it feels like there's a really, really good floor being set in place for the Squiggle.
Squiggles are hot. This is no news, and we know you're a Squiggle Maxi, Jared. You don't have to hide it. There's nothing wrong with that.
SquiggleMaxi.eth, baby.
That's right. You got the name. You've enshrined it into the blockchain.
I did.
All right, let's talk some FX Hash. 7-day volume. What are you seeing?
So the 7-day volume is, I'll call it pretty intriguing. The one that stands at the top is Dragons. I think you're seeing a pretty hot run in Dragons. One of I think Dragons are starting to become affordable relative to Anticyclone. The floor on Anticyclone right now is extremely thin. You could easily see 10 plus Anticyclone if somebody came in and swept, 6 of these things. And I think relatively speaking, everybody likes the Dragons and thinks aesthetically they're just as beautiful. And so I think that the relative cost basis and the just general discovery and eyes on FX Hash is impressive. So, that one's rounding out the top spot for the last 7 days with some really, really great sales. And then just by and large, it's sprinkled in with some new projects and, of course, some old ones like your RGB and Zancan. So pretty typical distribution, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like volume's maybe a tiny bit down. We will start recording the aggregate volume. We just looked at what was in the top 7, but it feels like perhaps it's been slightly less. I think when we had September and the Fire Within, and there were a few collections that were doing more volume in the first 7 days than I think they probably were closer to 20,000 Tezos. So right now, Dragon's the number one, as Jared mentioned, is 15,000 Tezos. So perhaps a little bit down, but still a good mix of new and old. Still a lot of interest and excitement over there on FX Hash. Let's talk some Gen Art news. Jared, do you want to talk about this, what we were alluding to with the sales and art blocks? There's been a particular whale sweeping through that may have triggered this.
Yeah, no, this is really interesting to see how the money is rotating from this one particular wallet. And they sold a hoodie ape, most notably for about 3,300 ETH. And I forgot the actual distribution, but I believe roughly 1,700 to 2,200 of that ETH then got rotated into Art Blocks projects, and they created an Art Blocks Series 1 through 8 set. And In particular, I was really intrigued to see a lot of the purchases. In particular, the one that was most notable to me was the anticyclones. And I don't know if it's a confirmation bias, but they rotated into and bought quite a number of anticyclones and really established the highest sale of a of an anticyclone with that 37 ETH graphite sale, which is really really um, intriguing. So just and for reference, the wallet is Danny Secure. It's a very very popular figure on art blocks, but this individual was like, and this is meant to be complimentary, but like ruthless in the buying. I mean, really didn't go for a floor level. The ringer that they bought was a yellow body, absolutely stunning. Bought three Fidenzas. It was a really really incredible to watch the art blocks volume. Somewhat fictitiously inflated just with this wallet going absolutely bonkers, but you know it was interesting in my opinion to see the one ape, the CryptoPunk ape sale get rotated, and they bought some other stuff like it was like 69 rug radio pieces. I went in and tracked the actual thing, but that wallet, but the majority of it really rotated into art blocks, and it was really cool to see that, and that attention, very publicly they claimed to have completed a set of art blocks series 1 through 8 pieces. And I think that it was, when it got announced, originally there was 5 completed sets, and as of today, there's now 13. So, the attention that they brought to the marketplace is definitely inspiring people to look at things similarly.
Yeah, a few quick takeaways for me, just to add on what you're saying. Okay, so anticyclones. They established the top tick. The previous all-time high was 26.9. They bought one at 26.8 and then one at 37. So now we have psychologically a higher price that is allowed for anticyclones. Why is this important? This is important because this hasn't really happened in a lot of collections in quite some time during this bear market. And if you go back and you listen to some of the early folks when they knew that CryptoPunks were a thing and the whole, honestly, NFT thing could be something bigger, people will talk about an alien punk or an ape punk being bought for 5 times, 3 times higher than anything had been purchased before. So this is a seminal moment. It signals to the market that something is changing. We also had a sale of a September on FX Hash for 5,000 Tez, which is about 10x anything else. That means there are people out there who have conviction and are willing to pay early to go for really nice pieces. So that's number one. This could signal a change in the market. Secondly, there is a meta going around now. We were talking about this on our spaces, where people want to collect a set of these art blocks curated in the first 8 series, because art blocks has changed how they will be categorizing their releases. They're no longer grouping them into series. So that meta is there. I was kind of alluding to this earlier. Elevated deconstructions, I think there are only 100 of them. There's 100 of them. And that's part of the reason their floor rose so fast, is because people are just not selling them, because now there can only be 100 full sets of art blocks curated. And that has triggered a run in other collections as well. Now, this person, Danny, who goes by Seedphrase on Twitter, they also bought like 20 Fontanas, a bunch of other stuff too. So really high conviction bets. And the third takeaway, which Jared mentioned, but I'll reiterate, Gen Art, blue chip Gen Art is here to stay. A lot of people think it's bottomed already in US dollar prices. For me, it's the green light. Hey, I can go buy whenever I see something that I feel like is undervalued. I don't need to wait anymore for...
I'm going to interrupt, and I apologize, but I'm going to send a tweet out about this today. I've just been really tracking, and I should have mentioned this in the Squiggle update, but it's representative of Gen Art. I've been tracking the Squiggle chart relative to Bitcoin before the run up in this last cycle, and they're almost identical. I mean, like crazy, almost identical. So, for a further data point to supplement what you're saying about the bottom being in, it just feels like, and I hate to chart for some of this, but it all ties back to human psychology, and there just seems to be a bull flag and some indication that there's more to come. And when you start seeing big money like Seedphrase just almost ruthlessly come in and buy what his eye likes regardless of price, it shows that there's conviction in this space. I like it.
100%. And for the sake of time, let's move on from Gen Art news. We can cover some of the other stuff we had later. And let's hop over to release recaps. Well, actually, there were no big releases that came up in the past week, so nothing to really recap. We'll focus on hyped drops in the market and talk about how they did or what we were hearing about it, but nothing that was really big from our standpoint last week. So we'll shift over to great art at great prices. Jared, I know you found a couple. You want to start with one of the ones that you liked?
Yeah, I'm probably mispronouncing it, but it's an artist that I've just absolutely been adoring. He's been an early adopter at GM DAO, probably even a co-creator. I'm not sure, but it's on that platform. I'm gonna butcher the name, but Koripo, whatever, by Rich Poole, and it's absolutely stunning. It's got a very attractive entry point right now. I think it's at about 0.2 ETH. And there's some really beautiful pieces in this collection. I was before we even had this podcast, I was looking it up last night because it took all my power not to jump in. Some really prominent collectors have them in their wallet, and it's something beautiful. It looks like watercolors to me on canvas, and it's just, I keep going back to Rich Poole. I think will prove out to be a formative artist within this space and this movement. And this is an Ethereum. He does a lot of work on Tez, but this is an Ethereum-based project tied to the GM DAO and GM Studios. Absolutely, it could go down as like one of those primary releases for it. I don't want to call it day zero because that's not giving it the proper attention, but it is an OG in the space, and there's enough variance throughout the collection that you can pick a particular aesthetic, and just looking at everything under half an ETH right now, you have a ton of options. I mean, beautiful collection that I think warrants a second look by our listenership.
Agreed. I'll go on to the next one. I wanted to highlight a drop that I saw on FX Hash that didn't necessarily get a ton of attention, but I really enjoyed it. It's called Improvisation 1. It's by Hrunz, Hrunz. Again, this will all be in the show notes. This launched, in the last couple of days. Let's see, October 23rd, so 4 days ago. Floor price is 1.369, of course, not 79. And yeah, I just like the way they look. I wouldn't buy this thinking that this is going to go up in money, but it's focused on fractals. There's a nice diversity of colors. I think it's just nice art for, $15. You're going to pay more for lunch. So I think that this is one that could be quite good. I don't have too much more to say on that. So we can go on to your next one, Jared.
My next is Qwerty, Qwerty, by Tara Donovan. This is one that is an Art Blocks by Pace release. It's one that kind of flew under my radar, honestly, but it was brought to my attention by a very large collector, one that pointed out that a little bit of alpha, Snowfro himself felt was underappreciated. Tara's a very, I'll call it, established traditional artist, where that piece of sell for tens of thousands of dollars, and here with a floor about 0.3 ETH, and really a lot of options up until 0.4. I mean, and beautiful ones at that. You're able to get in, for $400-500 rather than, 40,000. So really interesting play if the artwork has a resonance with you, but just thought we would point that out as a really good opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this art. And it reminds me a lot. We didn't even talk about this before, but do you remember? I want to say it's called Ballatic by Modus Art, which I believe is another art blocks. I want to say it was a factory project. It reminds me a little bit of that. Similar vibe with the black and white. Check it out. When we put out our tweet thread, we will, of course, show an image. So you can get a sense of what QWERTY looks like. And that's great alpha. If Snowfro is into it, it's probably something to pay attention to.
And I think that this, the Art Blocks by Pace partnerships, the releases haven't been getting as much attention as maybe an Art Blocks Curated. So I think from a long-term collectability, Pace is an incredible name in the space. And I just think it's an early release. There might be some long-term value and collectability. It's only a 500 piece set, so there's a lot of stuff going for it.
100%. And I don't have much more to add to that. I think that's why Collector's Corner is here. There's a lot going on in different corners of the internet. We try to gather it for you, organize it for you, help you find it, see if you like it. Next up, In a Moment, 1,000 Years by Xalted, Xalted. This is another FX Hash project. This one actually did quite well. I had over 5,000 Tezos in secondary volume on the first day, which I believe was yesterday. Yep, I launched 2 days ago, October 25th. Floor is currently 40 Tezos, so around $50 US. Really cool looking art, great variety in the collection, a lot of variety in colors. The palettes look somewhat similar, but you get a ton of feel that there's a breadth of the collection based on the colors there. Certainly an interesting style, that kind of traditional sort of grainy vibe that you get from FX Hash. Xalted seems to be they have some interesting stuff too if you check out all their collections they put out there. So wanted to highlight that and would love to hear what everyone thinks about it. But again, I wouldn't buy this thinking that it's going to 10x. This is just great art at a good price. If it goes 10x, wonderful. If not, you got a really nice piece of art that you can appreciate. So with that, let's head over to some exciting new drops. There is one that a couple that I'm really intrigued by. The first one I wanted to highlight is our friend Thomas Lynn Peterson is doing he's in a collaboration. This seems interesting. I don't know all the details, and not all of the details have been released yet, but he is doing a collaboration with a company called Bang & Olufsen, which has been around for a while. It seems almost like a design, like art shop somewhere in the Nordics. I want to say Denmark, but I haven't fact-checked that. They're releasing something called the DNA of Bang & Olufsen, which is a collaboration with Thomas Peterson, themselves, Siobhan Wong, and Hackatao. So some famous artists. I'm not sure if Hackatao has any ties to Denmark or the Nordic regions. Thomas is from Denmark. So there's probably a bit of a connection there. And they're going to have a mint in 20 days or so. I think it's about 21 days. We'll link to their website so you can check it out. And they're saying the NFT owners can claim an art vial and a music vial, giving them the ability to fuse the DNA of Bang & Olufsen with the DNAs of our collaborating artists and musicians, creating a new kind of collectible. So we'll probably get more details as it gets closer, but this is one that I think is worth keeping an eye out on. And the next one that I wanted to talk about here is our boy, a friend, who actually just followed me. Thank you. It's Yazid, or Yazid, who is doing a collection with Vertical Crypto. They're going to have an event in London on November 2nd. And, Yazid mentioned in a tweet, I got to find it because I don't have it queued up here, but he mentioned that his next long form is going to be through here. I don't know why I can't find it, but essentially what he said is that his next project, it's going to be on FX Hash. It's going to be in collaboration here. And he mentioned that it is going to be sort of related, or perhaps a continuation of just Gestalt, his not most recent, but his FX Hash drop that was a few months ago. He had one very recently that came out since, which was a tribute to Herbert Franke. So those are two drops that I'm looking forward to for sure. And the third one that we were talking about, Jared, maybe you want to give your thoughts on this one, is the next Art Blocks Curated, which was just announced.
Yeah, this one is called Tide Predictor. It seems to have a very like holographic appearance to it. I think that it's very easy on the eye, and it's set to drop on November 2nd from the artist Low Vid. I just think it is something that could present extremely well when the technology catches up to for the display. It's almost like can't wait to see this thing on the three-story Samsung billboard from in the next NFT NYC. It's just got a very like holographic, prismatic type of appearance that it's it draws me in a very simple way, and I think it's beautiful.
I agree. It feels a little bit different. It feels more on the light side than the color side, kind of like Zach Lieberman's works. I will tell you, looking at the staging website, I do wonder if there's going to be enough variety to justify this being a 400-piece collection, but it felt different, and that really intrigued me. They talk about how they built a bridge from a video synthesizer to algorithmic code-derived imagery, so it sounds like it might be a little bit unique, and I'm curious to see what it ultimately looks like. There's some motion involved in it, and also what the market's response is to it.
It kind of reminds me of like, and this is maybe not a bad or a good reference, but the uh, color studies by Jeff Davis, but like in a different take on it, almost like a modernized take. I don't know if that makes sense to the listenership, but it feels kind of fun and playful, just as color study had to me.
Yes, 100% agree. I'm a fan of it. All right, our next section.
Well, real quick, I want to touch on one more. It was the friendship bracelets that's coming out
Okay, sure, yeah. Let's talk about them.
on November 3rd. I thought this was a really cool dynamic that just got announced by Art Blocks. It is kind of fresh, so we're still processing, but it appears as though they took a snapshot as of October 26th, so a day before this recording, probably 2 days before you hear it at 3 p.m. Central Time. And what's cool is they're going to give the rights to mint two of these NFTs if you hold for every wallet that holds at least one Art Blocks piece. So what I thought about this, and I was just scrolling through the announcement on Art Blocks, was it was fun to think that you don't have to be a whale, you don't have to own a ringer or a Fidenza, like anybody, whether it's a factory or curated. If you have one Art Blocks piece, then you're able to mint two of these friendship bracelets, and the artist is Alexis Andre, and they talked about how it was creating art to be accessible to the masses, and in some future, I'll call it variant or supplementation of it, and they're really encouraging um, the owners to, since you have two, to share one, almost in that spirit of the friendship bracelet. And I just thought that was really, really cool. There's so many collectors that we engage with that use dead ringers as an onboarding, because it's so, I'll call it a low entry. You're able to share that and airdrop it to people, and create wallets and get the excitement going. I really look at this as a big community development and community outreach opportunity on behalf of Art Blocks. And I just thought it was really cool. The art's intriguing. I'm looking forward to seeing more outputs, but this is fresh, so we're processing in the moment and don't necessarily have a ton of time. But the minting starts November 3rd and it's open until January 10th. So even then, it gives everybody a long window and period to get on board with this. And I think it's just another indication of how Art Blocks is trying to differentiate themselves from the marketplace and really establish themselves as a premier community.
Yeah, it's great. I'm sure this cost them quite a bit of money, certainly time. They're effectively giving these away for free. Both if you have an Art Blocks project, some people have multiple across multiple wallets. They're going to get a bunch of these. My guess is they'll give them away. I don't think that these are going to be worth a lot because so many people will get them. So I don't think the intention is for the price to appreciate. and that is obviously a great thing for the community. So excited to see how that does 100%. Okay, cool artists we want to highlight. I'm going to go a little bit off our typical topic, Jared. I don't know if you've seen this artist, but this is one that came across my radar. Really interesting. They're called Otherworld. Super rare artist, one of ones. These are definitely not generative, but their whole theme is dark art with bright colors. These things are selling for a lot of money. The most recent one sold for 80 Ether. So they're in the thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, but it's just really cool art. And, there's way more art that I can purchase, of course. So I love to just see ones that I think are cool and different. So this is Otherworld.
I appreciate you sharing. There's actually some pretty dope art on here. Really funny variants of classical artwork, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of Christian themes that I'm seeing here with like angels and, different, kind of almost like, I don't want to say things that I don't know about, but,
Well, it even looked like the Last Supper. It was just kind of funny.
Yeah, there's one called The Last Supper. And then one other artist I wanted to highlight here today. This artist is actually in Grayler's DAO. She's great. Elena, or I should say they are great. I'm not sure if they identify as female, but Elena Lazutina. Hopefully I got that right. And they do a lot of data visualization art that has some motion in it. Recently released something called 44 Marble Street, and it just really liked it. We tweeted about this, actually. Gives me South Beach, Miami vibes. Just really colorful and fun. It's AI post-processing, frame by frame. A lot of really beautiful art that people have noticed. These one-of-ones are actually quite expensive, and these low editions are quite expensive. But yeah, it makes me happy. That's the easy way to put it.
I think one that comes to mind for me, I know it's not necessarily somebody who needs a lot of attention, but it's a project that I feel is coming back to reality and affordability for a lot of people. It's close to 1 ETH equivalent, but A Bugged Forest by Zancan. I mean, the floor right now is 1,400. Tez, I just think that for an entry point to a 101 of X, Zancan, these were going for 2,000 Tez a little while ago. Absolutely great opportunity. I think my guess is it's going to go down a little bit more, but I've started seeing the floor fill in with, I'll call it, non-floor pieces. So there's a really great opportunity to pick up an incredible, unique piece of Zancan art at a attractive price point.
Excellent. So that is definitely one collection to watch. I want to highlight another one, which is Fontana by Harvey Rayner. It was the penultimate art blocks curated, I believe. This is the one I mentioned earlier that Seedphrase swept about 20 of them, something like that. But even before then, the floor price has bounced. I mean, it launched, I want to say it got to about a 0.4 Ether resting Dutch auction. This was sort of a lot of flippers involved. I think the price dipped below that at some point, but it has rallied. And if anyone has listened to our episode with Thomas Peterson, just came out yesterday, so I'll forgive you for not having listened yet. Just kidding. But he mentions this. He mentions that he'd been waiting months to see this drop. So he obviously had an inside view, maybe was giving some tips to this artist as they were tweaking their algorithm. And I don't know. I mean, this might be one, we might wake up in a year and this is at like a 30 Ether floor, or whatever the US dollar equivalent is then of 30 Ether now. It's interesting to see, right? Because as we consider that the market is turning, this is a new segment for us, like what collections to watch. Because let's be real, the last 3-4 months, like there's nothing to do but to wait for the market to bottom for the most part. But I think it's now worth it to talk about different collections to watch. Maybe you had some thoughts about some existing ones. Do you want to highlight any, Jared? Maybe memories, and I'm leading you here a little bit, but if there's anything like that.
I appreciate you leading the witness here. Yeah, Well, I hate to feel like I'm just keep going back to it over and over again and week by week, but memories just starts to come to mind. I think that the love for Emily amongst the collectorship is very strong. You see her with the rebranding of the Art Blocks website. Her profile and project is up front. I know a lot of major collectors appreciate it, but there just seems like there hasn't been a lot of activity on it lately. So when this thing goes, I just feel like it's going to run real quick, and it feels like it's primed and ready to go. While you do the next category, I'm actually gonna look up the charts on this one for memories, that is, but it feels like it's poised for a run up. I mean, there's a it could easily, if somebody wanted to come in, jump to 8 or 9 ETH, no problem. It's one that I'm targeting, honestly, for the fund. It's just beautiful art. It seems like its day in the sun is up and coming.
Yeah, uh, absolutely. And I'm going to talk about one in a similar vein, which is Gazers. I mentioned the Gazers floor. It's actually at an all-time high floor, 18 Ether. So why am I talking about this? I will continue to come back and harp on it. I tell Jared every day. He's probably tired of hearing it. This community is so engaged, and attention and engagement is what will continue to drive up prices. The community is crazy. Not crazy, but like crazy engaged, and the ability of this collection to evolve. I mean, by second, depending on the piece of work you have, will, I think, keep people engaged even further, and why you have such true fans. I think that this could easily be a top 3 Art Blocks project in the long term, or at least top
Wow.
5, top 3s.
Shots
top
fired,
10.
baby. Hot take, baby. Hot takes coming in.
I'm telling you, like go to OpenSea, check out their analytics, look at the last 30 days, and tell me how many charts you see like this in the middle of a bear market. 30 days ago, it was at 8.25 Ether floor. It is now a sale away from 20.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think it's the hot take at the end of the day. You're right. For me being a Squiggle maxi and being so entrenched into the Chromie Squiggle community and seeing how many people are diamond handing and looking at this, the same is for the Gazer. Absolutely die-hard individuals. I'm not saying it's just because of our podcast, but I feel like people are starting to dig into it and have a greater appreciation for it. And to your point, that you've mentioned before, it's a dynamic piece. It's going to age well. It's got a great, um, you know, I'll call it topic around the moon and the lunar cycles, and it constantly evolves with time. And there's stuff programmed in there that none of us are even aware of. So it's just like the gift that keeps on giving. I think the people who have them love them. I secretly want an aluminum background so desperately bad, but they're all like gobbled up by this one whale wallet. But yeah, I hear you. I just think that I call it a hot take because people are gonna say Squiggle Fidenza ringer, and this is definitely one of those candidates to unseat one of them. I agree with you that it has so much potential, so much potential.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Jared, Squiggles have 10 times the supply, right? So if you take that same community and compress it into 1/10 of the supply, you can see why I feel that way. And just one more I wanted to highlight really quickly. Shout out to, I think it was NF Toga who told me about this. I'm pretty sure one of our friends, our Moonbird friend and a fan. We mentioned last week Kim Assendorf, and Kim has another project that's a little bit under the radar called Monogrid. This is a really cool project. It actually is on sale on Object, but it's not under Kim, it's under Monogrid. And it has a website too, monogrid.xyz. And it's kind of like unique and interesting. And oh wow, there's one that I was looking at. Oh yeah, no, there's only a few for sale. The cheapest one is 1380 Tez, and they're sort of this like, I don't even know how to describe it, the art, but it's really cool. There's a lot of motion, black and white, a lot of interesting shapes. So it's just another one to watch. I think certainly worth checking out. And you had one more thing you wanted to mention, right, Jared?
Yeah, I was just I pulled up the charts. It bounced off of, in USD terms, our favorite data point of the cost basis versus market, and it's coming up against a resistance point. And for reference, I'm looking at article.io, ARTACLE or ALC.
It's like article, but instead of the I, it's another A.
Yeah, I'm like dyslexic here today. But it's coming up against some resistance. So if it can move, I almost see an inverse head and shoulders. It feels like I said, oh, again, just another data point, somewhat of a confirmation bias, but it feels like there's something coming for memories, and I'm optimistic about it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that is it for today, folks. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate your support. A lot of folks have been giving us love lately, so thank you.
Come hit us up if you have any questions. We love engaging with the community. Any questions about buying, approaches, thoughts, bounce them off of us. We're here to support each and every one of you guys in your adventures and exploration of gen art. So thank you, everybody, for listening this far.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you all next week. Hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you for tuning into Collector's Corner. We hope you enjoyed this episode and you found it useful in your collecting journey. Please check out our website, www.collectorscorner.xyz, for show notes and digital art galleries related to this episode. You can also follow us on Twitter, @collectors_xyz. If you'd like to help us out, please leave us a 5-star review on our website or your favorite podcasting platform, and/or leave some feedback on how we can do better. The Collector's Corner team and guests are not registered investment advisors. All views expressed on this podcast are personal opinions and are not specific inducements to make particular investments or investment strategies, and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. This show is solely for informational and entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, please consult a professional.